What's going on, YouTube? It's your man's Kendall back. Normally doing my wellness and fitness videos, but if you are new to the channel, like and subscribe. Channel is Roy Care. Roy Care everything, man. That's my business. Roy Care Investments. That's just me. But new to the channel, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you know when I post a video. But today, this video is more about wholesaling real estate. Just kind of give you some background on my experience with wholesaling real estate. I'm fairly new. They'll consider fairly new. I just hit a year in the business, in this real estate investment business, entity. This month, I started last year around February. Started reading one of the biggest books I read that kind of opened my mind. Most people probably say the same thing. Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Hopefully I said his last name correctly. I believe I did, but if I didn't, excuse me for it. But that book opened my mind to start realizing a lot of things. I come from, I wouldn't say poverty, but I don't come from riches. I come from a well-humbled family that work hard. Mom, dad, grandparents, uncles, everybody work hard. And I thank them for that. I never sit here and bash them because, we didn't have $1 million and I could just get everything I wanted. I feel like them working hard helped me become the man I am today. Understanding how to survive on my own. I've been on my own for a little minute now. I call my parents for, things other than cash. I call for conversation, which I feel is a great accomplishment that I have did for myself. I'm doing well as a coach. I lived in a couple different states, getting some life experiences that I needed, that I'm thankful for. So for me, reading that book opened my mind to a lot that my family didn't know, a lot that I didn't know. So, just a lot of points that opened my mind that I needed. So I got into real estate, started looking into wholesaling because it kept popping up. I didn't know what it was. It sounds too good to be true. And I started off looking at Flip Man, who's big on wholesaling. He gives awesome advice. I'm gonna be real with you. Flip Man, Max Maxwell, Jared Norton, just the three I really be back and forth with. Flip with Rick, Zach Ginn, and his dad, Rick Ginn, I believe. I said his name wrong, so I apologize, but those are four of the ones I look at. So I got bandit signs. Heard about bandit signs. I got bandit signs. I was staying in Alabama at the moment. I put them out certain neighborhoods. Had a friend who was already in the wholesaling and real estate helped me put them out one night. And probably I'll say that next week I got my first call. Messed up the call. He hung up. He didn't want to talk to me. Then he called back, and I kind of fixed it. I ain't telling him my wholesale. I told him I was a real estate investor. And then he kind of went with it. It took about a month to actually get that house closed because the area was in. It was a flood zone, which is, it was a good house. It was a decent situation. The only problem was in a bad area and people didn't want to pay that because insurance was going to be high because in the flood zone. So a flood zone is basically an area where you might see a lot of houses in Florida on them tall bricks. So when you go to the beach, the house be very high. That's a flood zone area. So if it flood, there's a high risk that house can get flooded or that area is gonna flood. So a lot of people didn't want to deal with it. I finally had an agent come through. They wanted their first rental property. They dealt with it. I only got $1,000 off that deal, but I was happy I got $1,000 because for me, it was proof of concept. You hear a lot of people say that who starts out with wholesale. It's proof of concept. I thought it wasn't real. I was like, ain't no way I'm gonna get paid. And I literally spent $75 on bandit signs. $75, that's it. I ain't really, I ain't do an earnest money deposit. I ain't really know about it. So I knew about it, but I just went with it. I ain't do, it took me a minute to send I ain't even send the contract, the title, after I got it signed with the seller the first time because I was too nervous that if it don't close, I ain't understand the process. So I was like, okay, if it don't close, I owe all this money. I don't know what to do. Instead of understanding that with my earnest money, I lose earnest money if everything don't go through. That's how that works. But that worked out. And then that summer, a month later, I moved to Georgia. Took a coaching and high school job in Georgia, be close to my family in South Carolina. Bring my kids, my wife, close to their family, her family in North Carolina. So it was a better move for us. Started coaching here. that first year was a lot of transitioning. So getting used to the area, coaching, all this. So wholesaling kind of took a back seat to everything I had going on outside of real estate. So for me, after that, I got back into it back in January. I started going, back and forth. I brought a couple lists in October. Didn't get anything out of it. Had a few close calls, but never got anything out of it. And then in January, I started going again. Doing a couple lists. I got a big list. Didn't get anything out of it. I texted mostly instead of doing a lot of calling. I didn't call really. Me personally, I think you get a list, the best thing to do is call it. You could get lucky with text, but for some reason, I get more, positive reactions out of the calls on those lists over text. So just my opinion. It worked for some people, it don't work for me. But so months go by. I'm at spring practice because, like I said, I coach football, basketball, and I'm the head trade coach. But at spring practice football in May, my wife gave me a text. Oh, she sent me a house. It's a house. They looking for an owner, and the first thing I seen was motivated. They're very motivated. So for me to use some advice, I'll tell you, if you see somebody who admit that they're motivated, a lot of them, will tell you they're motivated without telling you just from certain signs. But this was a post on a regular Facebook group. It wasn't even a real estate Facebook group. It was like a community Facebook group. The agent was trying so hard to find somebody to get this house. And a lot of people responded. My wife sent it to me. As soon as I got home that night, I texted the agent, made an offer. I was like, I kind of got the information. I made an offer the next day. Made an offer the next day, got the information. And that was Wednesday. So by that Thursday, we was, they wanted 195. It was a manufactured home. Dealing with manufactured homes, mobile homes, you can wholesale them, and it's a lucrative opportunity as well. Depends on where you at. So that's the biggest thing. I'll tell you, depends on where you at. The buyers, all of that. That's the biggest part. I didn't even realize it was a manufactured home. I was so excited to get the conversation going. So I made an offer. They wanted 195. I jumped out the gate and was like, look, I can do 135. For me, that was, I said I can do 130. So I said 130. It's like, nah, we can do 160. If you close there, I was like, let me talk to my partner. So I got some buyers, that I conversate with, some real estate investors. I talked to them. I came back to them. I was like, look, we can stick to 130. I was willing to lose that opportunity to keep it moving, but they were so desperate. It was like, look, we'll do 130, and we'll go from there. So with the 130 on the contract, I got it on the contract. In that instance, that Thursday, Friday and Saturday, I went straight to Facebook groups. Sent out one message. I copy and paste, kept sending it out. The issue I was having was the groups was taking too long to approve it. But by the time they approved it, I started getting a lot of feedback. Everybody was emailing me, texting me, leaving comments. I sent out probably over 100 emails to every one of them. I sent every last one of those investors who said they wanted to get the property an email. Sent an email. I finally, had one. A lot of people said they didn't want to do it because of manufactured home. So I kept going. One thing I'll tell you to do is be extra consistent and go hard. When you working with these, you working on these deals, don't expect it to just pop off. Some of them not gonna go through because it's not a good deal, even though you think it is. Ask people, get advice. So I kept going. So by that Sunday, I came back home because I went back to South Carolina. That Sunday, I came home. By the time an hour or 2 hours home, I got a message from one of the investors I messaged, and he was like, look, I want to close, I want the house, I can offer you 140. I put it out there for 155, 145, trying to get 15 off it. Because the process of it, like I said, you get on the contract for a certain price. So I got on the contract for $130,000. So I was advertising it for $145,000. So that $15,000 difference goes to me after everything closed. That's what the whole process of wholesaling. You find a property, you get it on contract with the seller, you send that contract to the title company, and then you sell that contract for more to a buyer to get a profit. That's how it works. So when he said 140, I was like, you know what? The 5 is, I would like to have 15, but I can take 10. I ain't put no money into it. Literally, I put nothing down on it. I ain't put no money down. I ain't do no betting signs. The only advertisement I did was free on Facebook. So when he said he'll do that, we locked it up. I sent him a contract. I sent it through the title company that next day, that Monday morning. Same title company the agent sent the seller's contract to. I sent it to that company. The earnest money for the agent, normally if you're dealing with an agent, they're gonna ask for more on the earnest money. So like for instance, when you're dealing with a seller direct to the seller, you can get away giving them $100 for the earnest money deposit to get the title company to send it through escrow and run a title search. But when you're dealing with agents, they can ask from anywhere from $500 to $5,000 or more. So the agent, they wanted $1,500 as the earnest money. They gave it to the 26th. At that moment, it was like the 22nd. So the end buyer, his I told him, well, he just automatically said he'll do a $5,000 earnest money deposit, which kind of shows me that they really wanted it. So that covered my end too. So that $5,000 I sent to the title company that he sent literally paid off my $1,500 that I had to do with I had to send to the agent. So they paid off that. The investor he had a partner that he sent to the property. I never even seen the property in person. I'm in town for the property. It's literally probably like 30 minutes away from me. But he sent somebody in. They checked the property out that Monday. And they sent me a text saying they wanted it. And everything was sealed from there. The only thing we had to wait on was, the closing date was June 5th. So they had to do their due diligence. He walked through the property, saw what he liked. They had to wait on to make sure the title was clear. Everything on their end, their funds was there, all of that. So June 5th came. We didn't close on June 5th, which I was a little disappointed with because I was getting nervous. I was like, okay, I want to make sure this still go through. The biggest thing I'll tell you to be patient, stay in contact with your people, have a clear-cut understanding of the conversation. So the biggest issue was everything was getting sent to me instead of the end buyer. And that was kind of on my end because I didn't really realize everything was getting sent to me. I thought it was CCing my end buyer in the email, but it wasn't. So they had to get that situated. So we ended up closing June 7th instead. The final close was June 8th instead of June 5th. Also, the sellers was getting a little antsy because they was in need of the cash. So they was getting a little antsy. So I was trying to keep them at a good place. I had a good conversation with the agent, so that kind of helped me out with that too. So that was the biggest part when it came to that. Then we closed. I went up there, got a check for $10,000. Literally walked in, got my check, went and cashed it, into the process. So that was my second close. I got 4 more properties to close before I can get a rental property because I do want to eventually get rentals. But the process it wasn't as, I ain't gonna say it was easy. Like, I just woke up and happened. Sometimes it do happen like that, but it wasn't as hard as it could have been. It happened quicker than I expected. Literally, it took me probably about 4 days. I closed the deal. Other than waiting on the close day, but made $10,000. I ain't put anything into it. Wholesaling is a real thing. You just have to understand that it takes work. I stopped working on it as hard as I should have. I probably closed the second deal a long time ago. So I'm going even harder. I got a list that I gotta attack this week. Understand and put time into this because it can make your life a lot easier. Like $10,000 help. It helps a lot. I'm not done. I plan on closing a lot more deals than just the 6, but I'm just aiming for 6 to get my first rental property. But got a long way to go. Like I said, if you need any advice, real estate, especially wholesaling advice, I can give you what I know. I don't know everything. I'm still learning. But I take pride in what I do and I enjoy it. It's a great entity to get a part of. It's a pretty smooth way to get into real estate. Like, especially when you got no money, no cash. Your credit is not the best. So this is a way you don't have to, deal with either or. You just got to work on it. It's a lot of work because it's not like having a rental property where when you're not working, that rental property still working for you. Or any other kind of properties in that kind of field of work. With wholesaling, you gotta constantly work. It's like making commission sales. You gotta constantly work to get those sales to keep coming in. So I'm gonna eventually have a team of VAs. I'm working on getting a VA soon, but I gotta do more work on my end before I get a VA. To kind of keep learning so I can be a smooth and great leader for my VAs. So, like I said, man, if you're new to the channel, glad I couldn't say that. If you're new to the channel, you made it this far, man, like, subscribe. I got plenty more information when it comes to wholesaling. I got some resources I use. If you need contracts, I can help you out with that. But, I'm learning just like y'all, man. Don't think you in this by yourself. You're not. We all trying to get better at something. But like I tell people, man, invest. Find something to invest in. Look, I couldn't finish the end of that video. It cut off because my memory ran out, so it was too long. But I was just ending it saying as simple as make sure you invest your money in something. Find something to invest your money in. No disrespect to other races, but for some, my race, my generation, we haven't been taught these certain things. And I feel like, more reading, and if I can give this information to someone else, it can help someone else. But invest your money in something that is going to change your life and your family life. When you leave this earth, you leave your kids, their kids, and their kids' kids. That's the goal of all of this, generational wealth. So we're working on generational wealth. But made it this far, like, subscribe to the channel, man. Get these views up, get these subscriptions up. Great video. Hopefully, like I said, I gave some good information on wholesaling real estate. More of that is dropping soon. Let's get to it, man.